Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will be talking about Brock Lesnar. Since he's back in the UFC spotlight after the whole WWE style promo after the Miocic versus Cormier fight at UFC 226. And you all know what happened, so that's what I'm talking about. But more specifically, I will just be explaining why Brock is allowed to be Brock and why it's really the fans doing. Brock Lesnar is the punishment that MMA fans deserve. And by that, I don't mean that all MMA fans hate Brock or that this is really a punishment of any sort. But the reason Brock can just jump right into big fights after taking PEDs and being out for years is largely due to fans, the casuals, the hardcore, and the in-between. It's due to the whole community. The reason is because he draws. He draws attention, he draws numbers. And at the end of the day, the UFC is a company. They are running a business. They run a pretty respectable business, but every now and then they'll take a cash grab, and it wouldn't be a cash grab if people didn't buy it. So you hear it again, if people did not buy it. So obviously somebody's buying. So now that leads me to another reason why Brock has so much power. And that reason is because there aren't very many true draws in the UFC. True, real, big number draws in the UFC. Not even on regular TV. These people barely, not even drawing 1 million views on regular TV. Free TV, Fox, not drawing 1 million views. And so it's not really many true draws in the UFC right now. All these fans complaining about everything, but they aren't really showing up to buy pay-per-views, even though there are many decent pay-per-view cards that aren't really people buying them. They will like whine and even brag about streaming, which gives the UFC basically $0 except for maybe the one person who's streaming the event who might actually have ordered it. They'll talk about everything they have to pay for and stuff, like so they gotta pay this, gotta pay that, and say, why should I have to pay for this too, with like pretty much some childish logic, like basically a logic that amounts to the same as somebody saying, why do I have to pay for anything? I already pay taxes and assortment of other things, so what sense does that make? It makes zero sense. The simple answer to their like retarded, childish logic is that if the UFC isn't generating money, the company fails, it goes bankrupt, it goes in debt, out of business, etc. And if it wasn't for the people that actually support and pay for these events, you wouldn't even be able to stream and watch these fights. So I'm not saying some of the events aren't maybe poorly stacked, or maybe you don't have other things to pay for. And most of these cards are pretty stacked. It's just that they fall apart due to injuries. But even still, I think most of the events have been pretty respectable. People could say like this person fell off the card and fell off this card and that card. But I think for the most part, every card this year has been pretty decent, even with the injuries or without certain people on certain cards. They get shifted around and the cards still end up being pretty good. And again, I'm not saying that most people, like a lot of people don't have other expenses and stuff that they had to deal with. Or maybe they have loads of other expenses to deal with. But there are always better alternatives, like the simplest one just being splitting the bill up with friends. Like you might probably got at least 1 or 2, 3 friends. Well, obviously some people really don't got friends, but still, I think most people have a couple friends that they probably complain about the fight with, and they stream in their separate houses. Why don't you two people that are streaming in separate houses just meet up, hang out, split the bill between maybe 2, 3, 4 of your friends, and watch that price value drop real quick. $60 split between 2 or 3, 4 people. That price will be much less expensive. And I'm not saying you got to buy every single UFC event. Maybe at least buy one a year, or well, I don't know, buy the one you want. If you're going that price to stream it, then if you really care about an event, buy. I'm not saying buy every single event. I'm not saying buy one, but you really want to see an event, go to a bar, split the bill. There's better alternatives than complaining and saying that streaming is the best alternative. And even then, there's still there's really no real excuse for how bad some of these fights on TV have been doing, like free TV, like Fox free. Like that's as free as it gets. You can have like no cable, no nothing, and you get Fox, and people still ain't tuning in to watch fights. So that's as free as it gets, and it still be cards that are underperforming, like getting less than 1 million views and hundreds, like averaging 600,000 views, peaking at 700,000, some stuff like that. And you got shows like on having reruns, shows that people seen 1,000 times, getting like averaging like 2 million, and there are shows that have been seen 1,000 times versus a live show and it can't even get 1 million. That's sad. And I'm saying most of these free cards are actually pretty solid, and they outdo the pay-per-view cards as far as actual like excitement and quality, because there's a lot of more younger, hungrier fighters on there trying to build their way up, and most of these cards really end up outdoing the pay-per-view cards. And most times the fighters stay on this cards and the pay-per-view cards because people fall out. Older fighters, more experienced fighters, more at the top level, they have more damage to their bodies and they get these injuries. But on the free cards, it tends to be younger fighters, especially filling out the card, these next wave of talent who really deserve a lot of more respect than the MMA community gives them. So really, MMA fans are some of the worst fans. They will call people nobodies and won't tune in, but the cards will have these next wave of stars that are more than ready for the spotlight, more than deserving of your attention, and already should be stars, a lot of them, a lot of times, but the MMA community is stuck in the past and refuses to let the new stars shine. They want to still talk about Rampage and Wanley and Dan Henderson and all these people who are all great, but you got to let the new people in. Just like in basketball, there's always new talent, in football, always new talent. In MMA, let these new stars shine and stop being such a whiner, for real. But to sum things up, everyone needs to make money. Daniel Cormier wants to make money, especially since he wants to retire soon in like March, really of next year. So he doesn't have much time left, and he retires when he says he's going to retire. And again, people will cry for Gustafsson to get the fight, but they won't buy for Gustafsson. They'll cry, but they won't buy for a Gustafsson fight. The first fight between Daniel Cormier and Gustafsson did poorly on pay-per-view. Gustafsson supposed to have so many fans, so many people in forums, pretty much riding his jockstrap, but they ain't paying no money to see him fight. And then the fans want to see things to change, then don't buy the Cormier versus Brock fight if it happens, and start buying cards you talk so highly about instead of streaming them. So if you really care about something, put your money where your mouth is. That's as simple as it gets. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.